All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Microsoft 365 Pulse, if I can talk. We've got the whole team together, so that's very, very exciting. So we have a short list of updates today. As always, we're going to start with the in development. And so I'm going to start with one that hit us this week, which would be great. So I'd love to see this one come out. But Microsoft Teams include 10,000 users in an org-wide team instead of 5,000. So going from 5,000 to 10,000 in a team. It's a team that we're using to push out information, and we're getting close to the 5,000 mark, needed to go to 10. So that is in development. So I'm actually very excited about that. If they would have told me in the beginning that I would have needed 10,000 people in a team, I would have said, that's crazy talk.
I think we actually
never
did
need
say that
10,000
over
people in
time
a
when they were
team.
saying, oh, 2,000, like, don't ever include me in that team.
Yeah, and I think we did. And now I'm like, man, this is going to be a problem. So super excited about that one in development. So I will start out. I'll start out with that one as something I wish for, and then I'm going to pass it to Tamara, and she can tell us about what she is excited for in development today.
Great. I'm excited about Microsoft Teams meeting chat moderation settings. This means that meeting organizers can now turn off the chat functionality during a meeting, which is turned on by default. So if you don't want that side conversation going on, or if you don't want that distraction, you can turn off the chat.
Or if students start saying bad things in a class, you can just say, stop it.
Oh.
Yeah. And turn off the chat.
There you go.
I like that. I like that.
I'm going to go ahead and just stick with a theme here with Microsoft Teams because there's not that much in development this time. Microsoft Teams, they're going to allow meeting transfers and companion devices. So if you happen to be on your laptop, let's say, and for some reason you have to walk away, but you really can't drop the call, you can transfer it over to your mobile device, which I think is really awesome because it just kind of enables you to go wherever, pick up whatever. If you start in the car, you finally get home, you can switch over to your laptop, which is an easier experience.
In the meeting, have to go to the airport.
We are not advocating being on a meeting while you're driving.
Never. We would never advocate for that.
Well, that's why I have my husband to drive me places.
There you
Exactly.
go. Okay, there you go. So basically, and you'll also be able to add another device as a companion to their meeting. So you've got some flexibility in terms of what you might need to use in a particular scenario for meeting flexibility, coming and going. So I think that's rather a cool fix.
Awesome. How about you, Adam?
I'll take one of the nerdy exchange ones because let's be real, I was always going to take the nerdy exchange ones because there's not nerdy admin stuff in this. So I'll start off with the first one. So this was kind of cool. I didn't understand it at first. I had to do a little bit of research, but it's a cool idea. They're basically working on developing what they're calling SMTP MTA STS, which stands for basically strict transport security. What they're basically doing, so for the longest time when you're doing handshaking, when you're delivering mail, when you first connect to an email server, you basically decide with that email server how you want to deliver mail. And so you say, oh, hi, how are you? And they say, oh, hi, I'm good. And you say, I want to do this securely, and they either let you or don't let you. That's existed for forever. Well, basically, MTA STS is a way to do that on a domain level instead of mail server level. So you can basically go in and say, if for security reasons, you always want to do TLS, which is probably the highest default encryption level for handing off email messages, you'll now have the ability to set that at a domain level whenever you're delivering the mail. This is actually something that Google came out with, I don't know, a year and a half ago on the Gmail suite. And Microsoft almost didn't have a reason to have to do that because MAPI connections are just more secure by default. But they're basically doing this so that way if you are communicating with another server that's maybe not using default exchange connections, you have the ability to do a secure connection. So kind of cool, just an interesting option. I'm sure it's one of those things that 5 years from now, we'll see compliance records asking you to turn on, stuff like that. So cool to see it being developed. I'm sure it's something people eventually will use.
So one that I think is hilarious just because of the details. Block sending groups on the BCC
Oh yes, this is a classic description.
You could tell the person who came up with this was the one who wrote the description because they're so excited about it.
Yes.
They're like, have you ever created an inbox rule, but then the inbox rule doesn't work? And then you find out it's because someone put a group on the BCC line. Well, that happened to the rule creators too, and they decided to do something about it.
Oh.
It was great. It's
This
been a
is
big
the
hit
start
within
to a movie.
Microsoft. And
Yeah, well-
now we're adding it to Exchange Online. And
Yeah,
so
we
that just cracks me up.
In the description, they actually use the word "ugh" with an exclamation point. It's that good.
Well, it's kind of funny because I read the description. I was like, no, that's never happened to me. Like, I guess I just don't blind carbon copy distribution lists often or something. But like, the person who came up with this like thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread. Like, it was amazing. The world needs to know about this. Like,
Well, they probably wrote the logic for the rule, and then they probably spent a very long time troubleshooting why the rule didn't work for that specific email. And then once they figured it out, it probably bothered them to no extent. And then they made a fix for it, so you couldn't do that anymore. So their rule worked.
Yeah, I could just see someone sitting there and they have their eureka moment at like 1 o'clock at night. They're like, oh, hell no, I'm fixing this.
It cracked me up. And they're like, it's been a big hit at Microsoft. So now
you're going to get it now.
It just cracked me up. So I thought that was really great. So that one's in development. So Tamara, do you have anything else in development that you're excited about?
Nope.
All right. Tom, how about you? Do you have anything else in there?
Nope, I'm into rolling out now.
So
Okay.
I'll give a shout out for DoD customers.
Yes.
Translates coming to Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. This is something I don't know how many DoD customers would actively use this, but some of my international customers that I've supported in the past have loved this. They would one particular customer had a big division in Japan, and it was always annoying because they would make a presentation that they were going to do and going to use, and then they had to give it to like the Japanese counterparts that would have people go in there and change it to be ready for Japan, and having Translate made them, and it wouldn't be perfect, but it gave them the option of basically, well, we can just go live with the presentation we have, and our Japanese offices can watch it as well and get the gist of what we're trying to do. It basically really cut down on their administrative time. So basically that feature is finally coming out to the DoD tenants as well too. So in the use case where you're dealing with international parts of your company, or maybe the presentations for an international audience, this gives you a quick fix, easy thing to be able to do. So I'm sure someone out there will love this update.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I think is important is my analytics. I know there's not every one of our customers is using that yet. There's some special criteria that you have to be using that. You have to be on an EA agreement. There's extra licensing, all of these different pieces. But there's so much that they're doing in this space. I think it's really important for us to be watching it. But they're coming out with some more granular controls for opting users in and out of it. That's one of the great things with it. And so being able to go in with PowerShell and opt in and out the level of granularity of what you want the analytics tracking is a good thing for a lot of comfortability for users and admins saying, what am I tracking? Is comfortability a word? I don't know.
It's a word now.
Rolling with it. We're rolling with it.
It came out.
It works.
Mason's
so
English Dictionary. Comfortability.
Comfortability. But yeah, so I think those are cool features. So I will pass it back to Tamara, and she will move to the rolling out category. And this is where things are starting to hit various tenants. So what do you have for us, Tamara?
Well, this is supposed to be rolling out in October. And what it is PowerPoint live captions and subtitles for GCC High and GCC. So the live captions and subtitles enables presenters to turn captions or subtitles on in 60 plus languages while presenting in 10 plus spoken languages. So, and this works in PowerPoint for Windows 10, Mac OS, and the web. But you do have to take note that this is just for GCC and GCC High. It's not for the DoD environment yet.
But they do have Translate now, so they can do part of it, or they're working on Translate now.
Right.
Awesome. How about you, Tom?
So there's really not a whole lot in rolling out this particular week. They do, though, have one for Excel. There's a feature, the workbook link support. That is something that's supported if you're using Excel for Windows or Excel for the Mac. You don't even think twice about it. But if you're using Excel for the web, that was not available to you. You'd get an error, which would then tell you need to go to the Excel client if you want to use it. Well, now it's going to be supported on the web. So if that's something that you're used to doing, or you've got Excel spreadsheets that take advantage of that feature and prevent you from using browser-based versions of Excel, now you might want to relook at that.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple. I'm going to just go through them pretty quick and then leave the one I think that Adam's going to go with, since there's really not too much here. Whiteboard is now going to have, or they're rolling out, the per user licensing. So right now it exists in the tenants, but you cannot set it per user. You have to do it globally, on or off. So moving forward, you're going to be able to say these users can use Whiteboard, these users can't. So that if you need that setting, that's going to be coming moving forward. And then there's some changes coming to Safari for Microsoft Teams. There were also some changes coming in development, but there's also some rolling out, which is just going to make it easier for people connecting to Teams on Safari. And then the last one, I'll say, is some changes coming to Microsoft Edge. So just some productivity and customizable links. So they continue to push out changes, I think, every week to Microsoft Edge. So lots of updates and changes coming there. So I'll pass it to Adam, I think. If you have anything, you can kind of close us out there.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's really only two that are interesting. I'm going to talk about one that I think Tamara may be interested in the other, so just kind of tee it up to see if I'm correct. I had talked about this a week or two ago. Just note that it's now moved to rolling out. New tagging in the admin center for features and stuff being rolled out. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago. As they're putting message updates in the admin center, let you know different stuff is happening, you'll now see stuff like feature update. This is having a user impact or an admin impact. Again, this just makes it easier to understand the technical jargon that Microsoft puts in their updates. So nice to see it progressing through the update cycle.
Great. Is that the only one? I thought you had one more.
Well, there was one more, but I think you may want it. So I'm going to pause and see if you want it.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Got two more.
So for those of us that like this, Forms is getting a new landing page. You're going to first see this at office.com if that's how you go through and access it. If you do Forms or if you do forms.office.com, you'll see that eventually just slightly delayed. But for those of us that have been using Forms, it's had the same landing page for years. So they're finally getting a new look and feel when you go through it that's going to make it guiding through it a little bit easier. So.
Cool. OneNote got a little bit of love this week. So OneNote, there's a OneNote feed in Outlook and Outlook on the web. So the feed allows you to easily access your notes in Outlook.com and Outlook on the web. So you can actually camp in those environments and still access your OneNote. So the OneNote feed includes your sticky notes and your recent OneNote pages, so you can quickly reference them in Outlook, and you can use search to find the note that you're looking for. And just have a quick thought while replying to an email. You can create a new sticky note in your feed right in Outlook. So they're making it easier to work with OneNote and not have to go actually out to the application.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, we can move ahead to launched, and I will take a category to just get us through a bunch of them all at once, and that's Edge. So for Edge, we have a table of content for PDF documents. We've got the ability to control through group policy, adding images to the NTP, secure DNS over HTTPS support, version rollback, policy for enterprises enabling sync by default, and a new group policy to replace existing diagnostic data policies for Windows and Mac OS. And so basically they're just continuing to add features that are going to make it easy for you to manage it through group policy, easier for you to push this out, for this to be your standard enterprise browser. So those are all launched. They should be available out in your tenants right now. Oh, looks like there's actually a couple more at the top of the list. Automatic profile switching for Windows 7, 8, and 8.1. Removal of HTML5 application cache, and group policy to enable Microsoft Edge UI to test sites in Internet Explorer mode. And let's see, I think I got all of them now. Yep, that is it. So that was one big group of Edge announcements. So I will pass it to Adam this time. Switch in the group.
I'll do the nerdy admin one. So they're coming out with proof of disposal for records management. So for the longest,
so exciting.
It really is cool. So for the longest time, if you went through and you did content searches, e-discovery searches, and you found something you wanted to get rid of and you deleted it, like based on if you're doing a hard purge or a soft purge, it would delete it or slightly delete it before it's permanently gone. But then stuff was just gone. It's like it never existed. And so why that's good if you're looking at a phishing message that you're wanting to get rid of or stuff. If you went through and deleted something that maybe you needed, or maybe you were deleting it for compliance reasons, but then needed to show that you were, they're now basically giving the ability to show what you've deleted. And so it's no longer going to be there. It's no longer going to be discoverable, but you can show that an action was taken, that you went through and you disposed of this content. And so kind of cool from a compliance standpoint. It's definitely a maturation of the product, and something that I'm sure people, when they're going through and doing this, have at times and oh yeah, I deleted it. They're like, can you show me that you deleted it? Well, it's not there anymore when you search. So the fact that they actually have proof of disposal now is pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's one that I see in here, and this one I just recently started using in my environment, and I love it to pieces. And that is Microsoft Teams. You now have something called tasks in Teams. And what that does is it actually brings in your tasks from both Planner and To Do and consolidates it into one area. I used to use the Outlook client, and I would use tasks in there, and that was fine. And then I went to the browser and I thought, well, I'll use To Do in the browser. Always weird, quirky things, and every morning I'd have to re-sign on again, or if I let it sit for a couple hours, I'd have to re-sign on again. Well, this now, it's a tab in Teams, or a thing on the left side navigation, but it's nice because I just have all my tasks there. If I want to pop over and see items that have been assigned to me in various planners, I can see those. It's just a really nice consolidated look and feel. It's easy to work with. I haven't found any quirks that affect me yet. I just really like this look and feel for things. So I highly advise you taking a look and see if tasks in the Teams client will actually work for you really well to combine everything that you might have across multiple planners, your to-do list, everything. It's pretty cool. I like it.
Cool. One of the things that I like is for Microsoft Forms, the progress bar for multiple page forms and quizzes, because sometimes you'll be in a survey and it just goes on ever, and you just want to know, will it end? And when will it end? It's like being on the freeway and seeing those signs that say 9 minutes to this freeway. So I kind of really appreciate that. One thing to be aware of is this functionality is turned off by default. So as the form owner, you should choose to enable this setting if you want to use it. However, for forms and existing at the rollout time for this, they will have the progress bar setting checked. So the progress bar feature still is only shown on multiple page forms and can easily be disabled by the form owner in the setting pane for that form or quiz. But I love that. Give me a clue. How much time do I have to spend on this? And I'm just happy that's there. And then also read receipts in GCC High and DoD. So read receipts will soon be available in the clouds. The read receipts in private chats allows senders to know that a message was read by a recipient. Because you put it out there in Teams, And you're like, I hope they saw it. But unless they react to it or reply to it, there's no way to tell.
Right.
So I like this
I have
idea
certain
for
clients that
readers.
love read receipts. Every message I get from them has a read receipt on it, and it's just like,
That's just
Well-
doubling your email, man.
Yeah, I know, right? Two things. We've talked about these a lot. We love them, but I'll kind of roll them together. And that's the SharePoint list and libraries, the sticky column, and quick edit. So the column remains in place, improving context while viewing and editing. And then the improved image columns, including mobile camera support. And so this is great. Just improvements to lists. They keep coming. Oh man, if you guys hear the dog in the background, I apologize. The lawn man is outside and he does not like that. So apologies if you hear the dog. But yeah, so those are two changes that are coming to list. So that is great there. And I think, do we have anything else on the list, guys?
it's worth noting. Translate is launched for GCC High and GCC now. It was announced as in development for DoD, and subtitles and live translations was rolling out to GCC and GCC High. But so the actual translate functionality should be live in GCC and GCC High now. So since we talked about it in the other two sections, probably should mention it.
Very cool.
Awesome. And then I think finally a new file viewer released for GCC High and Microsoft Teams that's powered by OneUp. So that's good. That allows a better experience for viewing files. And I think the last one on the list is OneDrive improved sync warning for locked files. I know some people had been waiting for that. Just an improved warning helps you know what is going on when there's been changes and it's locked and you can't get it. So I think that takes us through the list, doesn't it, guys?
Pretty much.
Awesome. Well, it's been a good show. It's happy for me to see the roadmap a little bit back under control. Ignite mess. It was a lot of craziness that went there. So I'm excited that it's back to what feels like a normal pace again. So we will be back next week with another round of updates from the Office 365 roadmap. And thanks for joining us. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.